Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy T for 365 Horror, and this is a horror movie discovery channel. I am just here to put as many horror movies on your watch list as possible. And in today's video, we are going to be looking at 14 brand new releases for you guys to watch and stream today. So let's get into it right now. Now we are going to get into the video, but before we do, I've got to remind you guys to please like and subscribe if you like this content. Also, this video is best watched with a movie tracker. I like to use Letterboxd. It's just the easiest way to keep track of the movies that you've seen and want to see. Also, these are just a preview. These are not reviews and recommendations. If you did want to see some reviews and recommendations, then I suggest you watch my Every Movie I Watched in a Month series or my You Should Watch series. Also, I just wanted to say that today is going to be a double episode. That is why we're covering 14 movies, because I was busy and I did miss last week. And I also kind of wanted to move the time frame of the video. I did want to include like this Tuesday's movies in the Friday video so that you guys are just getting really the most up-to-date, newest movies possible. So I did move that timeline. So now the movies that came out on this past Tuesday are on today's list. In the end, I just want all of us to be able to watch the newest movies possible. And with that, let's get right into some new movies. The first movie we're going to take a look at this week is a horror thriller, and it's called Tastes of Horror, and it's available on VOD Digital. Montage from the T.I. Soo Chu series, which is composed of 10 short films directed by 5 of the most acclaimed directors of the genre in South Korea. It is directed by Sang-hoon An, Johnny Chae, Yoon In Kyung, Yong Gyun Kim, and Dae Wong Lim. So after watching The Taste of Horror, I feel like we got a little bit of everything in this supernatural horror. I liked a lot of the imagery because we got some creepy movements, some creepy faces, and the movie definitely looked like it had a decent plot. I'm also excited because this is an anthology series, so we're getting 5 of the bigger horror directors from South Korea giving us 10 shorter stories. I'm always excited for these anthology series because I find that they always have a couple of bangers because they can rely on a direct scare model and don't have to waste a bunch of time on long, drawn-out character development. I'll be putting Tastes of Horror on my watch list. Next, we're going to take a look at an action horror thriller called The Omicron Killer, and it's available on VOD Digital. Attacked by vicious thugs, left severely wounded and hospitalized, a serial killer known as the Omicron Killer vows vengeance as he embarks on a new reign of terror. It is directed by Jeff Knight. Okay, so after watching the trailer for the Omicron Killer, unfortunately, this one looks like a little bit more of a meh movie to me. Personally, for starters, I just wasn't overly thrilled with the acting. Now, something that might be looking forward to some viewers is this does look like an 80s style kind of slasher, and these movies are usually laden with TNA. I mean, hell, 2 of the kill situations in the trailer basically were naked women, so I'm sure that's going to be a plus for certain viewers. This movie also looks like it could have some ridiculous kills, so I'm sure we're going to get a couple of good laughs out of the kill variety. I don't know exactly when I'd get around to watching this one, as it will have a little bit lower priority on my watch list.
This lunatic walking around killing people has got to stop.
Don't worry, I'm gonna get that mother.
Next, we're going to take a look at a horror thriller movie called It's Not Over, and it's available on VOD Digital. Max and Sarah are lovers. Albert, Sarah's husband, dies in an accident. Now, their affair can be open. Max suspects Sarah is hiding something about her true identity, questioning if she's deceiving him. It is directed by Alessandro Riccardi. After watching the trailer for It's Not Over, this is the kind of thriller horror that my girlfriend generally likes. Now, this one did look interesting, and I did like the premise. I also like how it seems that the main character almost becomes unglued, and we really see that displayed in the twistedness of her photography in the trailer. This one does look like a decent horror thriller for my watch list.
Sarah?
Next, we're going to take a look at a drama fantasy horror called The Vourdalak, and it's available on Amazon or Film Do. Lost in a hostile forest, the Marquis du Fay, a noble emissary of the King of France, finds refuge in the home of a strange family. It is directed by Adrienne Beau. Okay, after watching the trailer for The Vourdalak, this looks like an interesting art house period piece. Now, although the story didn't look like anything overly unique, it did look like this movie had a good bloody execution. Now, I did have a friend that saw this at a film festival, shout out to my boy Derek, and he had said that there's a lot of practical effects in this movie, so I am interested to see exactly how The Vourdalak is executed. Personally, I'll be putting The Vourdalak on my watch list.
C'est une charogne infâme, revenue parmi nous dans l'unique but de sucer notre sang.
Un Vourdalak ne s'attaque pas à n'importe qui, monsieur. Il se délecte particulièrement du sang de ses parents proches et des êtres qui lui sont les plus chers.
Next, we're going to take a look at a drama horror thriller called In a Violent Nature, and it's available on Shudder. When a locket is removed from a collapsed fire tower in the woods that entombs the rotting corpse of Johnny, a vengeful spirit spurred on by a horrific 60-year-old crime, his body is resurrected and becomes hell-bent on retrieving it. It is directed by Chris Nash. Okay, after watching the trailer for In a Violent Nature, this movie gave me some serious Friday the 13th vibes. Now, an almost creature-like or supernatural killer terrorizing a camp and killing everyone is a setting that's just near and dear to my heart, so I will always give slashers like this a chance. Now, all this movie needs is a good cast of characters with diverse personalities, a little bit of TNA, a good amount of bloody, gory kills, and we could have gold with this one. I have no problem putting In a Violent Nature on my watch list. Next, we're going to take a look at a fantasy horror mystery called The Watchers, and it's available on VOD Digital. A young artist gets stranded in an extensive immaculate forest in Western Ireland, where after finding shelter, she becomes trapped alongside 3 strangers, stalked by mysterious creatures each night. It is directed by Ishana Shyamalan. Okay, after watching the trailer for The Watchers, this is one of the bigger movies of the year that I've definitely been anticipating. Not only do you get Dakota Fanning, but it's also produced by M. Night, and it's written by his daughter Ashana, and after watching the trailer, it really looks like we're gonna get some standard Shyamalan fare. I really did enjoy the trailer though. We saw some creepy movement, and I was just drawn in and intrigued by all the little mysteries we saw going on in this little spot in the forest. The Watchers will be a watch for sure on my watch list.
You have 5 seconds before the door is sealed. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Next, we're going to take a look at a movie that is a drama history horror called The Devil's Bath, and it's available on Shudder. It's Austria in the 18th century. Forests surround villages. Killing a baby gets a woman sentenced to death. Agnes readies for a married life with her beloved, but her mind and heart grow heavy. She faces a gloomy path alone, with evil thoughts rising. It is directed by Severin Fiala and Veronica Franz. Okay, after watching the trailer for The Devil's Bath, I'm most intrigued by this one. Now, this one is based on true events, which I do find always hit different, but my only apprehension with the movie is that you get drama and history before the horror. Now, even though it did look like we got something pretty good and dark in the trailer, I'm just afraid that this movie is going to be slow, and not like Slow Burn, which kind of can be a good slow, just slow. So I do really hope that this movie has a lot of interesting plot points that keep me interested throughout. Now, the performances look solid, even though I was kind of drawn in by the overused plot point where we're forced to question the mother's intent versus her sanity. Like, we don't know in the end if she intends to do these things or if she's imagining it, but I intend to find out with this one on my watch list.
Jetzt stehst auf und ziehst die an.
What is a Davis board?
Next, we're going to take a look at a horror thriller called Dead Whisper, and it's available on VOD Digital.
Everything is exactly as it should be.
Dead Whisper centers on Elliot Campbell, a Cape Cod lawyer drawn to a mysterious island where he is tempted by a reunion with his dead daughter, but at the peril of his soul. It is directed by Connor Susi. Okay, after watching the trailer for Dead Whisper, unfortunately nothing really stuck out to me about this trailer. Now, for an indie film, I will say that the acting looked decent, but it did just look a little bit run-of-the-mill to me. Now, I really did enjoy some of the horror imagery in the trailer. It's just a detective that kind of has these visions about crimes. It just seems a little bit played out to me. Now, with that being said, I will say that the movie looks well done, but I really do think that story and the execution of it is going to play a big part in this movie. This one's just going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
Oh, it'll be good for you. Put a suit on again?
This pain that I have with me, I mean, that's all that I have left of her.
Next, we're going to take a look at a horror mystery thriller called Cold Blows the Wind, and it's available on VOD Digital. When a married couple hits a jogger while driving drunk, they think their night can't get any worse. But after heading to a remote location to bury the body, they realize their nightmare has just begun. It is directed by Eric Williford. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Cold Blows the Wind, this is another one that unfortunately just didn't really jump out at me. Now, to me, the acting in this film just looked okay, but they really alluded that we were going to see some special performances, so maybe we'll get something more out of the actual film on this one. Now, to me, nothing really jumped out about this movie, and it looked fairly par for the course, so this one's probably going to get a lower spot on my watch list.
Something you guys should know about the woods around here. Dead things tend to not stay dead.
Next, we're going to take a look at a straight horror called Witch's Well, and it's available on Tubi. While traveling in Edinburgh to research her book on the Scottish witch trials, a best-selling horror writer is hounded by both a stalker and a potentially paranormal threat, challenging her skepticism of the otherworldly in this suspenseful found footage horror film. It is directed by Amanda K. Morales. Okay, after watching the trailer for The Witch's Well, this looks like an okay found footage movie. Now, one of the things that really struck me off the bat was that Amanda K. Morales not only directs, but wrote and stars in this movie, so that kind of gets me interested to see exactly how it's executed. Now, in the trailer for this film, they say it blurs the lines of reality, and at some points we see what looks to be an intruder in her house, but at other points it almost seems to be a supernatural entity in her house. So it must be part of her imagination, or maybe it is or it isn't, and I am kind of interested to see exactly what it turns out to be. Another good point of the movie that sticks out to me is that I'm always down for a good sleepwalking story, because I just love how erratic sleepwalkers are in movies, and I love the incredibly disturbingly weird things they often tend to do. This one might be good for some creeps and scares, so it's definitely going to go on the watch list.
I know it's normal for kids to sleepwalk in adolescent years, but would you say it stopped at like 13? I woke up to some items in the kitchen and they were misplaced.
Next, we're going to take a look at an action horror thriller called Latency, and it's available on VOD Digital.
Touch me, baby, tainted love.
When Hannah, a professional gamer who suffers acute agoraphobia, receives new equipment that enhances her game, she begins to wonder if it's reading her mind or controlling it. It is directed by James Croak. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Latency, I'm definitely interested in this one. Now, I love the idea of a gaming horror, and I really liked a lot of the elements that they mixed in it. Now, the performances look good in this one, and it looks like we're going to get a decent cerebral sci-fi creep fest out of this movie. Now, I liked a lot of imagery in the trailer, and I liked how by the end it almost was like the machine was playing tricks on her mind. And I really liked how in parts of it, it almost had like a Groundhog Day feel, where every time she thought she was escaping or whatever, it's almost like the machine would bring her right back and she would still be in the same predicament she was in. I enjoyed the premise, I thought it had some creepy imagery, and I really like gaming, so this one's going to be higher on my watch list.
The more you wear the Omnia, the faster it will learn.
Shut up.
Jen!
Oh my god.
Jen, I won! Jen! I won the whole tournament! Jen, is that you? Hey, it's not a game!
Next, we're going to take a look at a straight horror called Thine Ears Shall Bleed, and it's available on VOD Digital.
You shall not infect me!
In the 1860s America, a minister family hears an unexplained noise from the woods during their wagon journey. Mistaking it for a divine presence, they worship it until realizing its sinister nature. It is directed by Ben Bigelow. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Thine Ears Shall Bleed, this one actually looked pretty interesting. Now, I really like the premise. I just like the idea that these people hear a weird sound from the woods, and being religious, they start to worship it. Now, even though the acting looked okay in this one, the only apprehension I have is that sometimes a forest setting can end up being like a church or a nun setting. It's simplistic and classic, so if done flawlessly, it can turn out extremely well, but it can also stumble and end up being something completely derivative and played out. Now, from what I saw of the trailer and the premise, I did like what I saw so far, so I am going to give this one a regular spot on my watch list.
That sound is not God! It is! If anything, it's the devil himself!
It is a miracle of God!
Next, we're going to take a look at a comedy horror thriller called Deer Camp 86, and it's available on VOD Digital. In the fall of 1986, 6 knuckleheads from Detroit travel north to partake in the annual tradition of deer hunting. But something horrific has been awakened, and the hunters become the hunted. It is directed by L. Van Dyke Sabootson. Okay, after watching the trailer for Deer Camp 86, this one looks alright, I guess. Now, it does look like it has the right elements to make a good slasher, which to me is a good personality diverse cast with lots of offensive funny humor, some good gory kills, and some decent laughs. Now, if there's anything that holds this movie back, it just looks a little bit hokey, but as long as it doesn't devolve into anything too zany, we could have a good popcorn movie that you could just sit back, turn your brain off, and watch some scares. Now, one of the things that I do like is I do like an 80s setting because I do find kind of that 80s old school offensive raunchy humor quite funny. This movie is going to end up with a regular spot on my watch list.
You boys were at the Peace Pipe last night, weren't you? Bartender was found murdered this morning.
Lastly, we're going to take a look at a horror thriller called The Exorcist, and it's available on VOD Digital. A troubled actor begins to exhibit a disruptive behavior while shooting a horror film. His estranged daughter wonders if he's slipping back into his past addictions, or if there's something more sinister at play. It is directed by Joshua John Miller. Okay, now after watching the trailer for The Exorcist, I'm actually quite happy that this movie didn't end up being what I thought. Now, what I thought is we were going to see another movie where Russell Crowe was a priest, but instead he's just an actor playing a priest, and during his role, it's like something evil might be attached to him. Now from there, it could be a plus or a minus, but it does look like it comes more of just a standard possession film. Now, I feel like this is the second horror movie we've seen from him in a short period of time, but I guess that's what happens to A-list stars though. You know, you get a little thick and washed, and all of a sudden you're just relegated to horror movies. Now, all jokes aside, although this does look like kind of a standard possession film, we still could get some good execution and something good out of this one. Some of the scenes actually look good, and I'm really interested to see how far we get to see them push a possessed Russell Crowe. The Exorcist is going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
Can he be saved?
Well, guys, that's going to do it for another episode of brand new movies to watch and stream. If you did find some new movies or like this content, please like and subscribe for more. Now, if I had to make some picks this week, the first movie I'd pick is The Watchers. because one of the things I'm really interested to see is exactly what Ishana Shyamalan can bring to the horror genre. My next pick this week is going to be something that's on the top of my priority list, and that is Latency. I just liked a lot of the imagery. It had that weird kind of cyber imagery, you know, when you see sci-fi horrors, just with the vibrating images, and it just looked pretty creepy, and I'm always down for a gamer story. Also, I know it's 2024, so I hope nobody takes this the wrong way, but I'm also interested because it is a girl gamer that's being featured. I think that's a cool element, and I can't wait to check that one out. My next pick for this week is going to be In a Violent Nature. Like I said, it just looks so Camp Crystal Lake-esque. I've got to give this one a try. I love that setting. Again, I love the camp setting. It totally takes me back to my childhood, and that's one I'm going to check out for sure. And my last pick for the week, even though I did say there was a danger of this movie turning out to be really slow, and that is going to be The Devil's Bath. I just thought the trailer looked really dark, and I am interested. I do like slow burns, and if it is going to be based on a true story, I am interested to see kind of the story it weaves. So that's going to be the last one I'm really looking forward to for the week. Well, guys, that's going to do it for me. I've got to get out of here. I have got a ton of movies to watch. I hope you guys take care of yourselves, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Where are you going?
I'm going back to Detroit, where it's safe.